Apple reported earnings after the bell on Thursday that beat expectations and set another record for sales generated by its growing services business, though results showed total revenues declined for the fourth straight quarter. That is the reason the stock's dropping. Hi everyone, JJ here with The Art of Value. Welcome. Well, today obviously we're going to look at Apple earnings, the recent earnings, how did they do? We're also going to look at highlights from the earnings call, my reaction to that. So let's get straight into it. In the fiscal fourth quarter, Apple reported earnings per share of $1.46 on revenue that reached $89.5 billion. $89.5 billion. Whoa, for one quarter. I mean, it's pretty incredible anyway, isn't it? Revenues in its Mac, iPad, and wearables category fell from the same quarter last year. Apple's latest results also showed its home market was a standout in its fourth quarter. See, US economy not actually doing too badly, with sales in its American region rising over last year. The only major geography to see revenue rise year over year. Kind of a vote of confidence for the US economy, isn't it? For its just completed fiscal year, Apple reported total revenue of $383.3 billion. That's incredible, isn't it? Down from 394. So from 394 to 383. Whoa. So I can see why the stock's down. The iPhone revenue. Here we are. iPhone revenue, $43.8 billion versus $43.73 billion expected. Okay, so that came in above. Services revenue, $22.3 billion versus $21.36 billion expected. Mac revenue, $7.6 billion versus $8.76 billion expected. Oh, that was way lower. That was $1 billion lower, more than $1 billion lower. iPad revenue, $6.4 billion versus $6.3 billion expected. So that is better. So Mac revenue, not great. Wearables, which is obviously cheaper than the other things, but is that something that people start to cut out if economic conditions deteriorate? This is physical products here, and they're expensive little physical products, aren't they? $9.3 billion versus $9.4 billion expected, so that came in a bit under. $9.6 billion in Q4 2022. That came down as well. Chief among concerns raised by analysts is softening demand for Apple devices, particularly in China, where Cupertino's flagship iPhone faces stiffer global competition. Both iPads and Macs declined by double digits for the quarter compared to the same period last year. Services remain a bright spot for CEO Tim Cook. The segment grew by double digits, the only part of the company that generated significant growth, while Apple's state-of-the-art hardware has led the company to $1 trillion status, actually $2.78 trillion US dollar status. It's incredible. Really is. Its evolution as a services provider and expansion into music, gaming, and entertainment form the center of optimistic cases for the future. Well, follow Spotify. They're killing it on music and podcasts, and now starting audiobooks. Market share is better than Apple. Now, if you're getting value out of this video so far, please remember to hit that like button, whether you're watching on YouTube, on X, formerly Twitter, or on Rumble, to help the algorithm to spread it to more people. Now, if you want to take it to the next level to show your appreciation for the art of value, you can now go here to buy me a coffee, just a one-off small donation, not a subscription or anything. I'd appreciate that if you want to do that. Thanks. See what the reaction to this on X is. Always fun to see. Let's do that. Fintwit. Apple Q3 revenue declined 0.7% over the last year, the fourth consecutive quarter of negative year-on-year growth. This is a main point, the fourth quarter. Now you have to say, are they going to have any new products? Steve Jobs has been gone a long time now. Tim Apple's been doing a good job, but do they really need something other than the iPhone? They've got the goggles. iPhone and services are crushing it. China and wearables are lagging, and that is being polite. Yep. Time to sell Apple. Huge miss in China. Apple, yikes, somebody says. The hard truth, nobody's telling about Apple earnings. If you take a look, today's Q3 reported revenue and EPS is very identical to that of last year's. However, back then the stock price was 25% lower. Good point. What does that tell you? The largest company in the world is dependent on phones. It reminds me of DVDs and VHS. The need for a smartphone is on the decline, not on the incline. We will look back on phones like they look at Blockbuster. I don't think so. On the decline, really? It's not. What else are we using instead? I mean, everybody's just staring at their phone. I don't think it's on the decline. Judging by my use, I'm not using the phone now, but that's because I'm streaming live on the internet to 4 platforms at the same time. Okay, I think we're going to listen to the earnings call. Let me put this Apple wearable in, which is on the decline, apparently. Here we go. Tim Apple.
And we've carved a path of groundbreaking innovations and delivered with excellence every step of the way. That includes Apple Vision Pro, which has gotten such an amazing response from developers who are currently creating truly incredible apps. We're excited to get this magical product in the hands of customers early next year. Now let me share more about our products, beginning with iPhone. iPhone revenue came in at $43.8 billion, 3% higher than a year ago, and a new record for the September quarter. We're continuing to innovate at a tremendous pace, and our industry-leading lineup of personal computers, Apple Watch, has become essential in our lives, and this is our best Apple Watch lineup ever. We achieved all-time revenue records across App Store, advertising, Apple Care, iCloud, as well as a September quarter revenue record in Apple Music. Making movies that make a difference is also a part of Apple TV Plus, and we were thrilled to produce Martin Scorsese's Killers of the Flower Moon, a powerful work of cinema that premiered in theaters.
Looking forward to seeing that.
Company gross margin set a September quarter record at 45.2%. Products gross margin was 36.6%, up 120 basis points sequentially. Services gross margin was 70.9%, up 40 basis points from last quarter. We had strong performance in several markets, including an all-time record in India.
They're playing up the Canada, Indian market,
Latin America,
potentially big.
East. Mac revenue was $7.6 billion, down 34% year over year.
34%
driven
down.
By challenging market conditions and compounded by a difficult compare in our own business. We have great confidence in our Mac lineup and are excited about the recently announced iMac and MacBook Pro powered by our M3 chips. iPad generated $6.4 billion in revenue, down 10% year over year. Our installed base of over 2 billion active devices continues to grow at a nice pace and establishes a solid foundation for the future expansion of the ecosystem. Customer engagement with our services. Also, our paid subscriptions showed strong growth. We have well over 1 billion paid subscriptions across the services on our platform.
1 billion paid subscriptions.
Doubled. We ended the quarter with over 162 billion in cash and marketable
162 billion in cash.
Paper. Our annual revenue was 383 billion. While it was down 3% from
down
the prior
3%
year,
for the year. Where's their growth coming from? Future growth,
new Apple retail stores in India to online stores. I'd like to review our outlook.
Guidance.
As a reminder, we expect our December quarter total company revenue to be similar to last year.
Share price has dropped. We said that. 2.71% down now.
We expect the year-over-year revenue performance for both iPad and wearables, home and accessories to decelerate significantly from the September quarter due to a different timing of product launches.
3.8% down. Guidance. Did not like the guidance.
The wearables category.
Same as last year, he said. 3.7% down. Whoa.
And finally, today our board of directors has declared a cash dividend of 24 cents per share of common stock.
Got a lot of cash. Here we go. Questions. Most important part. Oh, 4.3% down. Over 4 now as they're talking. It was flat before the call and now it's down.
Big areas of investment for us are tooling and equipment for manufacturing plants, our investments in data centers, and our investments in our own facilities, both corporate facilities and retail stores.
Nothing big, nothing new.
So, both for the tooling in our plants and, you know, and
they haven't mentioned AI yet. Somebody going to ask a question about AI? 3.76 down right now.
In Q1 from
it's the guidance.
And really then we step back and we think about why is it that our services business is doing well, and it's because We have an installed base of customers that continues to grow at a very nice pace.
Maybe because you're taking
And our
30%
ecosystem
commission in the App
continues to
Store.
grow. Indeed,
What about AI?
is
I
improving.
want AI Siri. Siri to be good.
Tremendous amount of excitement around the Vision Pro. Happy
Is
to
there,
share it with
though?
developers, and we have developer labs set up in different parts of the world so that they can actually get their hands on it and are working on apps and see a
Apps
number
for the
of
Vision
those.
Pro.
And there's some real
We're
blow-away
hoping that takes off.
kinds of things that are coming out. There's never been a product like the Vision Pro.
So lots of companies are experimenting with generative AI.
Here we go.
I'm curious about what kind of efforts you have. I'm sure there are segues into the provision that you have, but I was curious about if you can give us a glimpse on how you might be able to monetize some of these efforts with generative AI.
I haven't said anything about generative AI yet.
Zoom out and in terms of generative AI, we have obviously we have work going on. I'm not going to get into details about what it is because as you know, we really don't do that. But you can bet that we're investing. We're investing quite a bit. We're going to do it responsibly. And
Not saying how much they're investing.
You will see product advancements over time where those technologies are at the heart of them.
Not saying.
Been very clear. And for my follow-up,
Very clear.
So you guys always.
And is there a way to compare or contrast India, growth momentum versus China maybe a decade ago or so at the same point of the rollout of?
It's not a bad question. India, source of growth of the next decade.
We had a
Big
all-time
source.
revenue record in India. We grew very strong, double digits. It's an incredibly exciting market for us and a major focus of ours. We have low share in a large market, and so it would seem that there's a lot of headroom there.
Can it move the needle though? For a
Worldwide.
$2.78 trillion company. Possibly. The guidance was obviously, I think the main thing, the stock went down when they mentioned guidance being pretty much flat. It ended that call down 3.3%. It's looking like out of the mega caps, Tesla and Apple probably. Tesla the worst, Apple second. I'd say so Meta, Amazon, and Google were the best. The advertising companies really. I mean, Amazon increasingly so. Their figures were down for Mac, and so maybe these companies with the bigger ticket items are having a little problem.
If you're going to continue to pay a 50 to 70% premium multiple on this company versus the market, it's all about services. Services is the growth driver and the margin driver.
The thing about Apple is they don't say what they're working on. So they talked about in the call, they talked about AI, but they didn't talk about AI. They say we can't say we're not going to say what we're doing there. They've got this massive cash pile. They could decide to make electric cars if they want, which would be fascinating, but I don't know. Is Tim Cook going to do that, go into that area? It's low margins in that area. Unless they could pull off high margins in that area, I don't see why they'd go into something in the auto industry, which is, let's face it, not a great industry, especially when Tesla's sort of in there and they're 10 years in. So I really don't see that happening. It would be big news if they did. AI, the Vision Pro, expensive. Is it a mass market product? Could be in the future. If that worked out well and they had a whole app store based on that, we'll be able to move the needle. Can anything move the needle for a company this big at this point? Very much. 2 to 5% of growth. I mean, it's not a high growth company at all, is it? India, they talked about India. I mean, that's a sort of untapped market for Apple. They're moving some manufacturing there. Perhaps that's over the next 10 years, that's an area. So far in these mega caps, it has, as I said, it's been Tesla and Apple that have come in kind of the weakest, and the others are very strong. Go and see that video that I made about Amazon that's just been published, about Google before that. Thanks for joining, and I'll see you in the next one.